In this episode of Confessions of a Divine Masculine, you will hear from one of my own Divine Masculine on things such as karmic partners and a false twin flame experience he had and how that triggered childhood wounds. But what you will not want to miss is his answer to why and what I did that got him to stop running. Like everyone that shows up in your path as your teacher, the magical mirror? Is that kind
Correct.
of what you just meant? Okay, wow. That's like a really cool way to look at that, because that says, first of all, you're willing to see, right? You're willing to look at it. You're willing to start owning it. And you're willing to take responsibility.
I'm wanting to see it all. The real struggle is bringing new action into reality, because you're basically swimming against the current of yourself, quote unquote. Attention patterns that have been formed that are what you feel like you are.
So let's talk about this
really terrifying.
A second then. So basically you're talking a little bit about the shift or be shifted. So let's just take for a second, and we'll talk more about your awakening and the things that I've taught you in our connection. And then basically that brought in then after our intimacy and that somebody else had entered the picture. Then at that point, like you started getting lessons basically from someone of showing you things that I couldn't show you because I didn't have the codependencies. I didn't have the things that were putting like labels on you to where I was going to like make a claim on you. I basically gave you a free way to love and a way to accept you, not own you. And I know that that's also something that you didn't want, which I'm not that way anyway. But on the flip side of that, because I couldn't show you those things, you also then needed those things to come to light so that you could see those things. So it took somebody that could show you the codependency, show you the ability to take back some power. In addition to that, kind of prior to that, like say with the ex being a really deep soulmate from a long period of time that you were closing out, then somebody kind of coming in to help you clear the karma that we call the karmic partners and clear the codependency. But you're not taking action. It's what you're talking about now. You haven't been taking the fullest action to step forward. And when you don't take that action, it becomes shift or be shifted. So then that's when you had we'll talk about this now, this false twin flame experience that comes in like a freight train, smacks you upside the head, creates the bubble love, the intoxication, the deeper than you were even struck before to really now have to detoxify that. So can you talk about that experience and how that was differently from the karmic person that came in that you kind of had that relationship with, and then how quick that person, because you even messaging me and thinking you had met your twin because it was like a twin experience. Can you share about that?
Yeah, sure. So the person that I spoke about previously is still in my life somewhat. I'm trying to figure out how to kind of like deal with that, and she's really trying to do me good, so to speak. We're trying to do each other right. That happened over a longer period of time. The one that you're speaking about just ended about a week ago, and to give you an idea, and this is like Earth time, because even when we were speaking with each other, there was like Earth time and there was our time, and this happened during the quarantine, and we never even met each other. But the voice, somehow our voices struck each other in this really deep way. So I met her on the phone, and within a sentence or two, it was clear to me that that I was like in love with this voice. By the end of the conversation, she felt the same way. By the second day, we were basically planning the rest of our lives together. By the third day, I'd say like third and a half day, she was threatening to hurt herself if I ever left her. And this is prior to us ever meeting. So this all sounds really ridiculous.
No, this happens all the time, just so you know. Like I know, but this is like a very common thing in the twin flame Candyland world. So
then the fourth day after we kind of reconnected after that, she was really angry with me and didn't want to speak with me anymore. And I saw that as really such an opportunity for me to just jump out. So I blocked her number immediately. But she had my email address, so I had multiple email addresses, kind of with her, using beautiful words of kind of she had, risen above and like she has all these understandings now and stuff, and she wanted to talk to me, and I knew that if I talked to her again, if I heard her voice, I would be in trouble. And it took like all my like power of knowing to write her a letter telling her kind of my perspective, and then her saying, basically not giving me anything back and just insisting on us speaking by phone, and then my just saying, I can't do this, I'm sorry, I'm out, and blocking her email then. And you have to understand that there was this deep, very old formation in me, even when I speak about it, that wants so badly to get lost in that, like wants so badly to get lost forever in that. And despite, and the excitement of, suicide, talk and all the darkness. And it's taking a lot of, kind of inner engineering and a lot of work and a lot of shedding to kind of move through this period, because it's still pretty salient. And it was very exciting. And I've never felt so in love in my life.
What was different about it?
How did it feel?
Yeah. So let me.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the bubbly. I mean,
okay.
So if you
so
could
like
imagine,
an intoxication, like a drug.
Yeah. So if you could imagine like just a vision of flowers and windy vines and flowers and winding vines just sprouting and growing at the speed of light, like that's how it felt, with all the colors and more. And I've never felt that way. I've never felt so alive and beautiful and delicious like in my life. So
how does that relate with
that.
The connection you have with me being a difference of the heart versus the toxicity of that? Now that you can look at the
so it's interesting, because with you it was a little bit more like the first one, where there was something I recognized in you. Now, I've never met this other person, just to be clear. So if I had met her, there could have been more variables that I was like, whoa, I don't want that. Right. But I was just limited to voice, and the voice really touched me in this like unexplainable way. And just the banter between us, just everything, we had both been, molested as kids, and, perhaps we suffered kind of similar traumas, I mean, who knows, there's all these variables, but for some reason, our voices did that to each other, and the way that we interacted did that, activated that in each other. No, with you, I recognized you as a person that I wanted in my life in the long term, and so I was really ambivalent about becoming intimate with you, even though it was clear, like in my body, that we were being pulled together in that way.
Mm-hmm. Because we had the magnetic pull as well, right? Like I know we both did, but like you felt that as well.
Yeah, but it was very different.
Can you explain the difference?
A friend of mine, yeah. So this one was really dark.
Mm-hmm.
This one was, I mean, parts that I had locked away a long time ago.
Okay.
Parts that I had locked away a long time ago. Longing, sexual kind of parts of me were activated. Dormant parts were activated. And, you know, I think you pretty much know your story, my story, because I'm an open book. But, you know, my earliest memories were either of terror or being molested by my babysitters as a kid, and just the ecstasy of that. You know, I was 3.
Mm-hmm.
And when I approached my father about it, I was young enough that I asked my father to give me oral sex, because I thought it was just this normal thing that people did to each other, and it felt so amazing. And the look in his eyes terrorized me enough that I've never looked at him deeply in his eyes again in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the shame I felt, and the retraction, and the lack of joy in my life until I discovered music, that kind of touched some part of me that I felt joy with. But most of my life has been, you know, zero joy. I didn't know how to connect with joy. I didn't know how to connect with gratitude. There was only guilt and kind of confusion. I guess where there's no joy, there's just kind of confusion. Like, what's it about? Where's meaning without joy? There's really no meaning without joy. So, yeah, this voice somehow seemed to strike these really dormant parts of me. And, you know, that led to all kinds of things, including our conversation that we had late at night a few days back, right? When I was talking about how I was feeling.
You're talking about you and I?
In relation. Yeah, in relation to mission and the universe, and just the inability to receive, and just, you know, taking from everyone, and you know, all these really dark things.
How come you were able to reach out to me for help?
How was I able to reach out to you?
Yeah.
Because
and like
I
to be able
was
to
able
tell me this kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not typical that you could contact somebody like me and discuss this, right?
Well, I think probably everyone listening feels like they could contact you and discuss this with you. You know, I think that, you know, you are a very powerful matriarch. And that, you know, when we became intimate, you remember I was shaking, I was shivering.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
That is something that always happened to me. I forgot about that because I've been married for so long. I forgot that before I discovered alcohol, every time I became intimate with a girl, every time I would go to like kiss or something, I would be shivering so much that I could barely stand. And the girls didn't understand and were like, "Why are you shivering so much? Why are your hands so cold?" It was like a fight or flight, like to the max. Mm-hmm. And our kissing ended that. I don't get that anymore. Like I've kissed
since you and I
since,
kissed, you don't have that anymore?
Correct.
Wow.
That was somehow released. So there were things that needed to be done there. And, you know, I can't speak for you, because I would imagine that for both of us, there were things that shifted and moved through our coming together, both as friends and then as kind of mutual, because we went into intimacy, we went into romance, but like it didn't feel like that was going to be toxic or explosive, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's
right, because part of that is because it's more pure, meaningful though, right? So let me say these questions. Why don't you want to see me or talk to me again? You feel the same way I do. So why am I the only one fighting for us? What is holding you back? Why do you tell me how great and smart and awesome and comforting I am, but not able to tell me that you have true feelings for me? Why is it so hard for you to commit to me, but you will commit so easily to the other woman? Why can't you leave that karmic for me? You feel the same way I do, so why am I the only one fighting for us and holding you back? Maybe I got that one in there twice. Why do you not want to see me anymore or no longer talk to me? Why didn't you say goodbye instead of ghosting me? See, that's the thing, as I was trying to say, is once this whole thing really kicks in after the activation and the shadows are kind of brought up and feelings come into play with that, and then that runner tends to run, and then the divine feminine are left with so many unanswered answers.
Absolutely.
It's not uncommon intoxication or this connection or to move into the intimacy. I hear this a lot because that itself takes people deeper, raises the vibration and the connection between twins. When they connect on a level of that frequency, it then changes a lot, within their vibration, that peels up a lot of karma, and it's very healing from a karmic standpoint to be sexually intimate. So that means if there's like healing to be done or those sorts of things, it's definitely going to come up. If it hadn't came up at that point, it's coming up, after you've gotten into the intimate stage. But so a lot of people end up in this place where they either get the really deep heart-centeredness and then they move into the sexual side, or it's all like connected to like a really deep sexual connection. And then that's when the ghosting starts. That's when a lot of times the partner that leaves can't stay and face that because that energetic pull can keep you connected into it, like you were just saying. And even, false twin, true twin, that's all sometimes pulling out that karma. But what most of the divine masculine do, and like I actually want to bring this up here, it's coming through, that they will basically, instead of discussing it or talking about it, they will run from it. In your case, like with you and I give you this safe place, or you would be running probably, right? Like you wouldn't come to me if I wasn't giving you this safe place and doing it from a standpoint of higher love and free love and your freedom and all of that. You wouldn't be doing this, right? So I know I connect with everyone, but there is a difference even with you, like in this case, you know what I'm saying? So people, the divine masculine, instead of facing themselves, they tend to escape. And in your case, you're kind of talking to these other people, kind of, but on some end, you've told me in the past, once it got to the intimate state, you would be the runner. You would just not show up. In fact, you were concerned with me that would happen, like, because we had started out as friends, and then basically you didn't want to lose that. And you were afraid to cross that friend zone that, and I had my own situation going on with crossing the friend zone, because it was repeating the exact twin flame journey I had from before, that turned into, after that situation, more to where I did basically lose that friend of 20 something years. And so I had my own fears, in that as well, of course. You basically opened the doorway to that, you know what I'm saying, at that time. And like, meaning you were sharing with me how you felt, being intimate and all of that. And so, basically I was feeling the same thing from a magnetic pull. And actually we'll come back to that in our journey together, because I don't want to get too out of track from that. But I think the point is that it just tends to cause you as the divine masculine, or sometimes the divine feminine, that they don't want to see what comes up that then has to be faced, and they run. So point being is, you have ran in the past yourself, because I'm about to talk about the running part of this, but you have ran even though you're not. That's the point I'm trying to make here. What's the difference in you having ran before and not showing up, and then now you are? What did you feel like that silence was? Or why did you not want to talk? Or why did you not want to reach out, or could not reach out? Why was that silence there?
Because I assumed that I owed you something. And it scares me to owe people things, especially when it's not clear what I owe. Especially with the amount of guilt and shame that I carry around, and I think most males carry around, especially sensitive males, carry a lot of guilt and shame. the thing you have to remember about sensitive males is that they were crybabies. And when they reached a certain age, they realized they can't cry, because if they cry, that makes them vulnerable to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn to use anger and violence as a substitute for sadness and vulnerability.
Or just not looking at yourself too sometimes. Like, I guess in this case though, like what you're saying from the divine masculine inside of a divine masculine's mind here is you weren't really running from yourself. You were really looking at yourself because you were processing what I was triggering in you at that moment, right?
Yeah, because it was our first time venturing into that, because it was so unclear, and because I was so worried about messing up, say the relationship that we did have, which was, we didn't have a relationship where we were talking on the phone all the time, but we had a relationship where when I was in town, we were getting together and connecting energetically and exchanging in a way that was really, at least for me, very nurturing. After we did get intimate, I didn't trust that dynamic would hold, and that now I've somehow sold myself.
You thought it was going to turn back to an old pattern.
Correct.
Yeah.
And basically, I think I've told you this before, the earliest memories of myself were giving myself away.
Right.
I was giving myself away sexually. I was giving my power away and doing things to them so that they would do things back to me that I wanted. And I was terrified of my, protector figure, so to speak, my father.
So this false twin flame that came in and like really sent you through a breaking point just recently, that when we was talking and we were walking you through the process of your father and the childhood wounds, and you basically said to me that you really at the end of the day just want to be loved and you want to be seen, and that's kind of what you desired, but you're not able to receive that, right? Like you're not able, like that's where even on my end it's so limiting to have so much to offer, but you can't even, that's limitation to myself, not being able to,
Absolutely. So I'm just starting to scratch the surface now. Yesterday I took a bath in Epsom salt with a candle.
Oh, good.
I've never done that. I'm like a 2-minute shower guy. I don't look in the mirror. Self-indulgence makes me cringe. So yeah, like I'm really making an effort to change the pattern and start to love and adore, this incarnation.
Which is what you have to do before you could have a relationship with anyone.
Absolutely.
To be able to be in my position, to come from a place of divine love and freedom and an understanding of giving space and not trying to put a claim on you, like, and those sorts of things, and just to still, even come out of this as being friends, like on the flip side of all of that. But being friends, I don't even really consider us totally friends, because I know that there's more than friends, even though it's not, if that makes sense. But like on your perspective, how, like, what does that look like for you? Like, how do you realize that that's a rare thing? Do you see, like, because in another thing that I hear a lot from women all the time is like, what's on his mind? What is he thinking right now? And what does he think about me? And like, so based in our connection and me being able to be open enough, loving enough, and give you a trusting space and to be authentic and real about it. And it's really from my heart. Like, I'm not making it up. And I know you know that, or we wouldn't be here right now, right?
Yeah. So with you, okay, so after we got intimate, there was a period of time where we didn't like contact. And for me, it was, and it's not even, so there's the running aspect, I think, from the male, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the, and I'm getting into generalizations, but I'm just going to entertain, like, let's say there's a runner. Well, then there's a kind of chaser, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this, even though it feels very real and it's very painful, it's a game, right?
Yeah.
This like hide and seek game. And, but that's not the only answer. And I know that, you know, it's, and all the great traditions have talked about, you know, this middle way, this, you know, Trinity, this divine, you know, golden mean, you know, whatever. There's so many different ways of talking about it. But I don't want to live that way anymore. And if there is intimacy and somebody wants to continue a real relationship that's not all about ownership or possession, like, oh, since we did this, now there's some sort of like a tense idea of contract or ownership between us, then I really want to continue the relationship. I mean, the vision I do have of a future that I really hope for my children, and I have a boy and a girl, is a much more poly everything future. So polyamorous, polytheist, polygender, because the more space there is for acceptance and inclusion and love, the less alienation there's going to be between people, right? So I don't know where I stand in terms of like relationships. I know that like I really love intimacy, and like I want it, I need it. Whether it's just, I mean, I have friends who I snuggle with and we're not lovers, and that's very real to me. I see a hopeful future of when you walk into a place where there's 8 friends who are hanging out, rather than everyone keeping arm's length from each other and talking about their conquests. They're all in an area, you know, close to each other, snuggling, talking, grooming, loving. I see that as a much more humane way of being. So, you know, you were the first person that's ever come into my life, and still the only person that's ever come into my life that didn't turn it into something weird, where there was all kinds of expectations and new laws and, you know, new contracts, you know, bonding us and all that sort of stuff. And we were able to just be mirrors for each other. I think that's what we are for each other. You know,
yeah,
Dr.
and
Harmony.
out of that, kind of like where that was putting me through that aspect that I've said is like you were showing me through that process that I wanted a relationship, and you were coming out of a relationship, moving into more of the polyamorous, which I had already been being shown the polyamorous side of that. And so, like, you know, I honor, you know, could only honor and respect what your desire is.
Can I say one last thing though,
sure.
about yours and my relationship?
Yeah.
I consider you like a soul friend, a spirit friend first.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have. And my spirit friends, now I see clearly, like they all feel beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wasn't gravitating towards people like that for you know, sexual experiences.
Right.
And,
that's not what you reached out to me. But that's typically how this kind of works in this journey. It's not always planned, you know. It just sort of
absolutely. And so,
you know?
so you know, for me, it was illuminating a lot of darkness in me surrounding ideas about sex and like what that meant, you know, and viewing sex as, you know, deviant and dirty and all that sort of stuff, like how I was raised, you know, being very conservative Catholic.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I didn't answer that question fully. Like,
no,
oh, well, then why were you attracted to me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you, I didn't see you as a sexual thing first, right?
Right.
I saw you as a spirit thing first.
Which is more meaningful though, right? I am that person that's giving you free love, or that, you know, like deserves respect or would want that. But on the flip side of that, like, and giving you the space, but then you are still choosing the karmic or the toxicity over that when you say that you want to choose yourself, but then you don't choose yourself.
Yeah, but I do.
Right. Okay. So this is why we're having this conversation, because the divine masculine's perspective here. So how are you choosing yourself then?
So the way that I'm choosing myself is that I'm watching myself, so to speak. You talk about the self. I view it a little differently. I see it as many parts that that takes both effort and letting go to have kind of a unified connection with, right? But through these toxic connections, so much has been uncovered.
Right.
So I'm able to experience how much has been locked away and how much
by choosing the
needed
karmic
to come out.
You're really choosing yourself so you can find yourself.
Yeah. And the real key is, and this is really hard for a lot of people to get, and perhaps some people think it's a cop-out. And I tell this to people, I tell this to my friends. I think the key to all this is to come in with the intention of embodying the experience. So rather than getting, you know, hooked on the experience and trying to hold on to it and trying to prolong it when the experience has shifted in a way to where it no longer serves you in the moment, it's moving with that.
So basically in the moment, you didn't want a relationship at the time we were discussing that, and then you know, that moment changed because things changed, the situation changed, new choices can be made, and those would still be choosing yourself. You know, and I guess just where I'm like really going with this is where people are like, but that's toxic and this is a higher version of love. Why wouldn't you want to experience the higher love, or like what we have? And so make sure to stay tuned for more upcoming episodes of the Confessions of Divine Masculine, where we'll be talking about his awakening, our connection, and how he's working to step into purpose.